Welcome to the Formation Yap podcast, where when 5 lights go out, the hot takes come on. We have a special guest today, our boy, Justin Crawford. Welcome to the show, Justin.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, dude, we're excited to have you, buddy.
I'm also here, JD on
by the way. And JD, of course, JD's
Thanks,
your lead host. But yeah, no, Justin, we're excited to have you here, man. What brought you onto the podcast?
Yeah, so I mean, obviously just watching Formula One with you guys, getting hyped up for it. Excited for the Silverstone race this weekend. And, hearing Jordan couldn't be here, just fill in for him while I can.
We're happy to have you, buddy.
Silverstone, man, I'm so excited. It's my favorite race.
Great race.
It's my favorite race on the circuit. It means so much to all the teams. It's a home race for, more drivers than any other track.
That's right.
So, George Russell, Lewis Hamilton, Arvid Lindblad, Ollie Bearman,
Lando Norris.
All of them are going to be looking to show out this week, along with every other team that's based out of Great Britain. So it's going to be fun, man. I can't wait.
We're supposed to get good weather.
Yeah. So
right?
So the weather will be still not out of the clouds from the heat wave. It'll be a little bit cooler. I think we're looking at 81, 82 on race day, but maybe some cloud coverage.
Fahrenheit. We do Fahrenheit in the States.
Yeah,
of course we do, especially this weekend.
So I think it was 23, 24 degrees Celsius for race day, which would be the hottest day. But then again, you're looking at some potential cloud cover coming in, maybe a shower or two, which could switch up some conditions of the track and make things a little dicey, as far as strategy goes. But yeah.
In the most recent history of Silverstone, a shower or two wouldn't be out of the ordinary. They've had the last 2 years it's been raining at Silverstone. 24, that was such an exciting race with Lewis and the strategy calls that put him in position to win. And then last year, that race with Lando, Oscar, Max driving the car, they if you guys remember, removed a lot of downforce to make it a little bit faster, and then the rain came and he just could not drive that car. Yeah. Kept in second as long as he could, and then your boy Oscar pulled that nonsense under the safety car where he brake checked Max, and then I really think that Max got in his head after that, because 10 seconds later he spun out going into turn 2. But all is right with the world, because they gave Oscar a 10-second penalty and ruined his race. He finished second. Lando, of course, took the dub that day, and Nico Hülkenberg was on podium last year. So in the rain, anything can happen.
That's right.
And that race that was the race that cemented my dislike and disdain for McLaren with that podium celebration. Man, Nico was beautiful. Lando won the race, and they were in Great Britain.
Did you hear about that, Justin?
Yeah, where they completely ignored him, right?
Yeah, they're spraying champagne. The crowd is chanting Nico. They want to see Nico, and dude, you can throw your arm around him. Come on. Yeah, it was a really fun, entertaining watch. Me and Madison actually watched it last night, and I told her, I was like, you know what I told her? I said, watch the podium ceremony. Keep your eye on the McLaren guys. Watch how they treat Nico. But as soon as he climbed out the car, the first guy there was giving him a hug and congratulating him was
Max Verstappen.
That's everybody's big brother.
Everybody in the UK just he's so much grief. He's such a bad person. All you hear over there, and how Max is so terrible. He's such a yelling on the radio. But then you can see through that nonsense. You know.
Well, at the end of the day, everyone's jealous of a winner, right? I mean, he's proven it. Golly, I don't want this to be a Max Verstappen Homer podcast, but it's so true. Like, you can't knock Max Verstappen. He has the results. He has the correct demeanor, and he respects the other guys on the grid. At the end of the day, there are a few that he doesn't get along with. Well documented. Him and George Russell have had their beefs. Him and Lando have had their beefs.
Did you see that birdie through George in qualifying?
Great. Yeah. Well, and did you see the post-race interview?
Where he had both mics? Yeah, that was funny.
So funny.
George is so awkward.
But yeah, no, you can't dislike Max, genuinely speaking. He's just a good dude. But so Justin, can you tell our viewers a little bit about Silverstone as a race, as a track? What's it look like?
So Silverstone is a 3.661 mile track built in 1947. It's got 18 total turns.
Knows his stuff.
Yeah, you'll have 10 right turns. You'll have 8 left turns. There are 3 straights on it, but in this weekend with the with the 50-50 power, with the engines that they have, there's going to be 4 areas where our drivers will be able to utilize overtake. So you'll see a lot of that potentially this weekend.
Well, so speaking of that overtake mode, let's talk a little bit for a second about Ferrari's pace last week. You know, Shaw had a terrible race. Lewis might have been there. We'll never know because of that wonderful Ferrari strategy. But what do you see from Ferrari coming into this race with the pace they've shown recently? Lewis is great at this track, but do you think they have the car to compete?
Well, I think Ferrari picked a hell of a weekend to introduce their Macarena rear ring, because again, it's a sprint weekend. They're only going to have 1 hour to test it.
It's a sprint weekend.
And so with the wing being a new thing, if it doesn't create, or if it malfunctions and doesn't create the downforce that they want it to, you're talking about 18 turns, you know, and a lot of them are sharp turns. Potentially you see if they don't get through the sprint very well, it could ruin their whole weekend. So I think that's something to watch out for with Ferrari.
Definitely. And
trial by fire, I guess.
That's
throw
right.
it on the car, see if it works.
I mean, but we have seen that Ferrari is pretty good in the straights overall. They seem to have the most, outside of maybe Mercedes, of course, they seem to have the best power in the straights. But what's going to be interesting on this track is because of the way that the engine components work, you have to harvest so much energy on this particular track. It's going to be, unfortunately, I see it as another battle for energy harvesting, which could make for a kind of a bit of an exciting race, but like faux exciting, like not real exciting.
That's been Ferrari's biggest issue this year so far. They've had straight line power, but their deployment is just, it evaporates so quickly. And I do agree with you. I think it's going to be a lot of, you know, Lewis pulls out raw horsepower, drives around Lando, and then the very next straight, Lando drives right back around him. It's going to be a lot of those swapping positions.
Yo-yoing.
Yeah. Which, you know, makes for an exciting race, but is there any substance to it?
Right.
That's the question.
Right. I think when you look at drivers like Max Verstappen, Red Bull in general, really, but you know, Max complaining about the power buildup and things like that, especially last weekend, he had some concerns. When you're looking at the track, you know, like what you were saying, between turns 7 and 15, that's about a 40-second gap where they're not really going to be on the brakes at all.
Yeah.
I think, you know, you've got a couple turns there between 10 and 14, but they're not going to be braking very much, and so there's not going to be a lot of power buildup or anything like that.
Justin, I am so impressed, man. You did your homework, big dog.
He came ready, man.
So I think
I'm loving this, man.
I think whenever you get the drivers that are concerned about power buildup, there's not going to be much power going into turn 15 to get them through. Now, again, you know, from 15 on, I think you'll see some more harder braking, some power buildup. So once we cross the finish line again, I think coming back out of turn 7, you know, for your next lap, you'll have some potential right there to build some.
So this race in particular, due to the way that the engine works, I think it favors the less aggressive drivers, honestly. So do we see Lando get on the podium?
I don't.
Possibly.
I think Max Verstappen will have something to say about that.
but here's where I'm going with that. I want to say that Max is going to get on the podium, but I do believe that he's going to figure it out. Like, he's Max Verstappen. He's going to figure it out. But does that give way? Does the harvesting and the deployment, does it give way for a guy that's typically a little bit more tentative or a little bit more safe per se? Like, say, I hate to bring him up because I'm wearing a shirt. Does it give George Russell a bigger opportunity?
I hated to bring up George
Because I know you were waiting for it. Does it give him a better opportunity rather than a race like what we had last time, where it's more hard brake, hard turn heavy?
I think it's Silverstone. I think it's a home race for your team, for a lot of drivers. I think there's a lot of guys licking their chops and wants to. Silverstone is a very coveted race.
They want to spoil the party for the British guys.
Well, they do that, but I think that, you know, Max, if like Justin said, a lot of straights. There's 40 seconds where there's hardly any turns. According to a duo, that's where the Red Bull car is going to be strong. They've looked strong after last week. You know, Max, for the first time all year, we've said that he might have lost that race due to strategy, not due to having, you know, not having the car.
Definitely.
I think you're going to see Kimi Antonelli very strong at this track. It's a circuit. It's just one he's going to be good at. It's a really good track for him. long straights, tight turns. He's always proven to be good here. Well, not last year, he got rear-ended by Isaac Hadjar and taken out. But besides, last year's rookie year, this car, these style racetracks, Kimmy's looked well. He's going to be aggressive. He don't know how to drive non-aggressively. Max is going to be there, and then anybody that wants to keep up is going to have to figure out a way, and it's not going to be driving conservative.
Any other high points on the track?
No, I mean, and not as far as the track goes, but I do think that if there is going to be a race this year, as far as I know, Max Verstappen's been complaining a lot about about a lot of things as far as the FIA. I think if there's going to be a race this year where he can expose the FIA and give them the middle finger, it's going to be this race. I just think so.
I mean, he's hungry, and Red Bull knows. A silly season keeps coming up and up again. We'll talk about Max and McLaren. This news that came out this week, but Red Bull is trying to give him the car. They have to. It's time. Like we've talked about how the ice is melting, and he's standing on a tiptoe right now. But yeah, so the news that came out this week: Zach Brown, McLaren talks, Max Verstappen. They were seen spotted talking on a boat last week, something like that. But what do you guys think of the merit to this? 2 weeks ago it was a done deal. He was talking to Toto. He was going race for Mercedes. George had already packed his things and was out the door. Now you hear Toto say George is going to race for us next year. We have no interest in making changes. This week he's going to McLaren because Oscar's out on the way out. What do you guys? Does this hold any weight to you?
I think it's tabloid talk at best. I mean, the influencers of the world, like we're trying to be right now, they have to have something to talk about. They've got to have some fodder that makes headlines. I think Max is about as Red Bull as you can possibly get, both in personality, style. He embodies Red Bull, and I would be shocked. I would truly be shocked if he doesn't retire as a Red Bull driver. Justin, what's your take?
Yeah, I mean, I look, and I think it goes without being said that Max Verstappen, he's a businessman, and so you can you can pretty much take him for his word. Earlier this year, he said he had no interest in moving at the time. I think if Mercedes gets rid of George, at this point with the performance, the way that they've been doing, I don't know that would be a great move. And then also Piastri is, to get rid of Piastri, I don't know. I think that would be kind of a bonehead move for McLaren too. So
sure,
I don't know. I think maybe they're just drinking buddies right now and a lot of tabloid talk.
Well, I think that I don't think that McLaren wants to get rid of Oscar, but I do think at the end of the next season he's going to be a hot commodity because he's obviously unhappy at McLaren.
Sure.
From what you said,
I think can change tomorrow. I mean, let's be real. If he starts winning, maybe everything gets hunky-dory again.
I think too, another thing to note is that with all the disdain with Max Verstappen, there has been talk of him potentially having part ownership in a team, and Zach Brown has been opposed to that. So maybe they're just talking about that, like as far as dual ownership in teams and things like that. I mean, maybe that's just they're having business meetings. I don't know.
I mean, McLaren went this week. They made the announcement they're going to join the what's the series that runs Daytona and Le Mans? It's not the hypercar. Forget what the name is, but they're going to do that. Maybe he was talking about
the WEC.
It's not. Maybe they're talking about putting Max in that car. Who knows what could be going on? But I will agree with both of you.
Side projects.
I think that right now, not to discredit Max Verstappen's career or anything, but he is getting a little older. There is talent out there. There are Oscar Piastris, George Russells, Kimi Antonellis, and look at George. Okay, let's play the George hater card right now. The guy is still doing great in points. He's still winning when he finishes races. Right, he's right up at the top. And then Max Verstappen, on the other hand, doesn't do media days. No. Has so much freedom in his contract with Red Bull.
Right.
If he's making, and he is getting up there in age, he's not going to race deep into the 2030s for sure. So if you look at those kind of, you're weighing your odds, do you sell out for Max Verstappen when you got a car like the W17 that is dominating and doesn't necessarily need a Max Verstappen to go out and win races? So it's a toss-up right now, but again, I do think that Max stays at Red Bull, at least for the foreseeable future. Mm-hmm. And I think that the Mercedes camp, the McLaren camp, everything's gonna. There's a lot of contracts coming up this year. We'll see how many people get 1-year deals. We'll see how many people get big contract extensions. But until then, if silly season, if the walls are going to drop, it's going to start with Max Verstappen. But if he keeps the waters calm, I think we're going to have a relatively calm change of drivers. You know, a lot of drivers these days, a lot of teams these days have their academies that they want to bring people up from.
That's right.
So who knows what might happen. I think if any blockbuster move happens to the big four, because let's be real, anything else is a lateral move at this point. And if there is some reason to open spot at the top four, if you don't bring a driver up from the academy, I think the only answer is Carlos Sainz. He's the only turnkey package that has been there, you know, media day. Like he knows. He's a guy that you put in the seat and walk away and let him do his job, and he's going to do it well.
Yeah.
So other than that, you know.
Well, I mean, I think silly season remains to be seen, obviously. But as things continue to play out like we're seeing right now, I'm leading more and more into the thought that we don't see many changes.
Right.
Because what we were saying was Max was the first domino. And if Max stays, then all the rest of the field stays somewhat copacetic, or at least in my opinion.
Well, again, we're talking a seat in the top four. We say it's Max. It could be Oscar. It could be Charles Leclerc. It could be anybody that's racing. You know, obviously Charles Sainz, but anybody that's on the top four teams. One driver leaves, and then that opens that coveted seat.
That's right.
And then people start making moves. So unless that happens, I would say right now, your power four are going to stay where they're at, and as long as that happens, anything else that happens is lanyap.
Well, let's talk drivers. So British drivers, we have a lot of them in this race. Do you have a specific take on if anyone is going to show out for the British Grand Prix?
If any, I think, and we kind of spoken off everything that could go on this weekend, and I like to think about Murphy's laws. If it can happen, it will happen.
Absolutely.
But
look out for the Murphy.
But what we've seen so far this year with the home driver's curse, I think it's hard to say with 5 British drivers who's going to really show out. I mean, I think if you're counting George out, George is going to show out this weekend. I think, with Lando, I don't expect much from him. My biggest concern this year in 2026 is the home driver's curse, right?
So what's the home driver's curse?
Well, you've got Leclerc, DNF at home. You've got Oscar Piastri, DNF at home. Alonso, DNF at home. And then, Sainz, and I want to say Sainz finished 12th at his. So
Lance also had a home race, but nobody cares.
Well, I want to say Stroll.
Poor Stroll.
I want to say Stroll finished 15th, but I also want to say that's probably his best finish this year. So I don't know that you could really call that a curse on his part.
That's just a seasonal curse. If your best finish is P15.
So
we do have 5 home drivers this week, and if the curse is real and they all do terrible, we got to get Kim K out the sport. What does Jordan call her? The voodoo queen. We got to get her out the sport.
So, but I think.
Well, Lewis is there. Sorry.
I think if, as far as British drivers showing out, you can't count out George. George Russell. I think he's gonna do really well coming out of last week. He's hyped. Again, a circuit track. He's a veteran on the circuit tracks, well-rounded in comparison to his teammate Kimi. Who has struggled?
Who has take offense to that?
Well,
who has struggled the last 2 races with track limits, right?
Absolutely.
So I think that
George. That being said, George does not have a great record at Silverstone. I think his best finish is
specifically at Silverstone.
Right. So it's not been a pleasant homecoming for him his whole career. And if you're talking about Kimi Antonelli, well,
I'm a
see
Kimi
what he can
fan.
do against the kid.
Look, I'm a Kimi fan, no doubt.
As we all are.
I'm making observations, on your circuit tracks where there are track limits. I mean, last week he suffered in the first couple of laps just trying to, get that corner out.
Yeah.
And then even in the race before that,
it was sloppy. It was sloppy
so
last week.
I'd like to see what he does this weekend. He's going to have some practice time. We'll have a sprint, so hopefully he'll get that down. I think as far as British drivers, if I could cross my fingers and say, man, I really hope the home driver's curse hits one person, I would say Lando Norris with the
Papaya rules.
Yep. Personally, I expect Arvid to show out
I do too.
as the lone rookie in the field. He's got a cool helmet. We'll maybe talk about that a little bit later, but I'm really expecting good things from Arvid. I do expect George to get on the podium. I haven't decided where yet, but I do expect him to get on the podium. It wouldn't shock me if Lando gets up for his home crowd and sneaks onto the podium. But truly, I'm expecting big things out of Arvid, and I am expecting George to get on the podium in some way, shape, or form. But what about yourself?
Speaking of McLaren, have you guys seen the livery they're running this week?
Sweet.
Yeah.
I love
Retro,
it.
yeah.
I love it. The
Super
green and white
vintage
is so
retro.
classic. Get rid of that god-awful orange.
I wish they would stick with the green and white.
It
Or
looks-
silver? Is it silver? Or
It
is
used
white?
to be silver. Well, they were originally green and white, and then they ran through a couple liveries, and then they were silver until Uncle Zach got to town, and then he brought back the papaya orange, and just the first of one of those mini Zach Brown mistakes that makes everything about McLaren so insufferable. But yeah, you can't call them mistakes. I want to call them mistakes, but he's obviously done wonders for that program. But we're here now. Maybe they'll look good when they finish 7th and 8th this week. But I think McLaren's on a downward spiral these last couple weeks. They showed a little bit of strength, and they really haven't done much since. Red Bull's brought upgrades that obviously worked. Both Mercedes finished last week. Ferrari slipped up last week, but that's yet to be determined. I still have faith in the Tifosi and the Forza Ferrari team.
Do you expect anything at all? Anything out of the McLarens this week?
I expect them to be competitive, and I don't want to call it the midfield, but I would say I see solid 5th to 8th place finishes. Maybe Oscar could squeak a P4 out of it, but I don't think I think the top 3 are going to be the top 3.
What about you, Justin? Do you see Lewis somehow sneaking onto the podium?
I don't, not this weekend. Ferrari's just going to have to. I think they've got some more work to do before you see Lewis on another podium. But especially here, again, I'm kind of worried about that rear wing deal, and so I think if this is going to be one of those things where it's going to be like no seconds left on the clock, we're doing a trick play. If it works, he's going to look like a hero. Ferrari will look like a hero. If it doesn't, they're going to be dumb. I'm not going to put my money on
Another Ferrari flub, maybe.
I'm not putting my money on Ferrari here.
Now, they did test that wing pretty significantly in the preseason, so they do have more data on it than throwing it out there. But yes, I do agree. I do think that they came up with the idea. Red Bull copied it and ran it a couple races.
Just about to say that.
But Red Bull's had success with it, so maybe they gained some faith in it there.
Is it ironic that they developed the technology, Red Bull steals it, and Red Bull uses it first?
Red Bull perfected it. Ferrari had an idea. They just waited on somebody else to spend the money on it. They figured they've got their information through backdoor assets. I don't know. Who knows what's going on over there. Hopefully it's a good race. Hopefully they bring a competitive car, but that's yet to be determined. Let's talk back a minute, just step back to the liveries. We spoke about Arvid's helmet. McLaren's got the crazy livery, but I'm excited for my American team to show up 4th of July weekend, 250-year anniversary of when we beat Great Britain.
That's right.
In the real race that mattered.
That's right.
And they're here to run the red, white, and blue colors in the UK, just to remind everybody that.
I think that's a hard flex. Mic drop. You're not going to beat that. Not this
Right.
weekend.
Right.
Not unless we're shooting red, white, and blue fireworks from the stands.
I hope they release 6 bald eagles right before the race starts. When both cars can't make 5 laps at the previous race, you gotta stick your chest out any way you can.
I guess. I mean, geez.
Those Cadillac cars can't stay on track, save their life.
It'd feel so much sweeter if they had a chance at unseating some of these British guys, but I just don't think
In
they
due
got a
time,
shot.
son.
I think the only thing that Cadillac could do to drag their nuts a little bit harder on our British cohorts is, once Valtteri Bottas retires from the race pretty early, is just ties some barrels of tea to the back and goes into the pit.
In Stone Cold Austin style.
Well, the cast of Toughen Up is over here giving themselves a beer bath.
On your face a bit.
Stuns George off the podium. Wonderful.
Stone Cold Stunner.
We get a lot more viewers. It would ruin the integrity of the sport, but Donald Trump was on WWE, why can't George Russell be?
Why not?
I think, yeah, for sure.
No, put Lando on there. I would love to see him get. Never mind.
Can you imagine Valtteri Bottas in his little
Yes.
red, white, and blue Speedo?
Absolutely.
Doing WWE?
Absolutely, the one guy that I could, 100%. But anyway, is there anybody else running a livery, or do you consider Williams special livery a special livery?
Well, how goofy is it?
It's special, all right.
That's the story of Williams
Special
this
ed,
year,
maybe.
though. They bring a car that's supposed to be great. They had so much high hopes. They ended the season last year on such a high, and they just bring this dud. And they've been trying to cut weight forever. You finally hear some exciting news. Oh, at least they're going to run a special livery. And yeah. What was that? What was that? They changed the nose and the rear wing a little bit.
Well, while we're talking about Williams, and I know that they haven't performed very well, and we can go back if we're not finished talking about, but they are expected to bring to Silverstone a medium-esque upgrade to their weight differences, and so I think you'll see a decrease in weight. And I know that they're allegedly. They were supposed to have their big upgrade this weekend. They moved it to a little bit later. They postponed that a little bit later to September. But I think you see lighter Williams cars. I think maybe you see a little bit different outcome than what we have seen from their drivers this year so far.
Man.
I hope, man. I mean, Carlos and Alex, neither one deserve the car they're driving right now.
Did y'all see Arvid's helmet?
I did. I think it's cool for a guy's first home race, rookie, first year in F1. A little childish, but I get the idea behind it.
I mean, he's 18.
Yeah, well, yeah.
I think it's cool. As far as I guess the sentiment ish behind it. I think it's a pretty cool helmet. So being a young guy like that.
I said it's childish, and you said he's 18. Brother, Kimi Antonelli is 19, and he is the man in Formula One.
The big dog.
He's the one everybody is chasing, so
That's
I'm not
right.
sure age has anything to do with it. But speaking of the man in Formula One, let's talk a little bit about what we think is going to happen. Let's do our predictions for this week.
Yeah, let's go.
And Cameron, of course, had a great week last week. Justin's filling in for Jordan here today, so we'll see how that works out for Jordan and his picks. Hope you.
Oh, my picks are going to go down for him.
Oh, you might do better than him.
I mean, if you're gonna be on the show more consistently, we'll add your name to the list.
All right, that'll work.
We can
Okay.
keep you on the back burner.
The back burner. We'll hold your horses. What if he knocks it out the park this week? Then it's gonna be, man, it was great having you on.
I want the competition.
Okay, well, this guy, he got 5 points in the Grandmaster over here. Look at it.
All right, P3, Justin, let's go.
For the Grand Prix poll, I've got Kimi. And if we're just throwing out some hot takes on who wins the sprint, I'll take Kimi on the sprint too.
What about you, Cam? What do you think?
For pole, I'm going to go with my boy George again. Going to go 2 for 2 on pole. Sprint, if we're doing sprint as well, I think I'm going to say that Lando figures out a way to get the sprint.
Lando takes the sprint.
Yep.
Kimi pole, George pole. Thanks, guys. I might as well take Lance Stroll for the pole because there's no way that either one of those isn't going to happen. So I'm going to go with the safe bet here and say Max Verstappen. I don't think it's going to happen. I think Kimi really honestly takes pole. But as far as sprint victory is concerned, I'll say Max Verstappen. P3 in the Grand Prix, I'm going to take Lewis Hamilton. I really do.
I agree. And I don't think there's a more cool moment in F1 history than Lewis riding around on the track with his
Union Jack.
Union Jack, thank you. Riding around with the Union Jack. Great. What a great look. Good for Lewis. My P3, since you took my pick, I gotta think about this. I'm gonna stick with my guns. I'm gonna say Kimi again at P3.
What do you think, Justin?
Yeah, I had Kimi at P3. I'll go with Max P3 though.
Safe bet.
Fair enough. So Kimi P3. That is surprising for me from both of y'all, hearing y'all say that. But I guess we'll discuss this a little bit after. But let's hear P2 from you, Justin.
P2. I've got Kimi for P2. I know I said I think he'll start pole, but I've got a different P1 finisher.
Right. Okay. He's got something up his sleeve.
don't know.
I'll tell you for P2, I'm going to go ahead and pull Max Verstappen. I think Max Verstappen. I think that Red Bull is fast. I think they have the momentum right now. I think Max finishes second, and Lewis finishes third. And I think it's some more good racing we get to see from those two veterans.
Absolutely.
And maybe I'm just being hopeful, but boy, that was fun last week.
My P2 is going to be my boy on my chest. That's why I wore this shirt.
Uncle George, huh?
Uncle George. And he's going to be flying the Union Jack, just like Lewis did.
I don't want to see it. Let's move into P1. I'm going to go first just because I'm not stealing anybody's pick, and I know this because obviously I'm going to take Kimi Antonelli. I think this is going to be a weekend that, you know, he's had some track limit issues. That qualifying, I think he was going to take pole last week. He said it was his flying lap. But I think this week he comes out and he's back in early season form.
Absolutely.
He's going to take the pole. He's going to win the sprint. He's going to maybe even pull a grand slam this weekend. Lead every race
sweep.
fastest. I think Kimi Antonelli is back. And I think you see him tighten up his belts and go out and get the job done this week.
Putting his foot down. I love it.
Putting his foot down.
Heck yeah.
I think that George Russell's going to pull it out again. I think he had a great run last weekend. I think coming into this one, it's also a home race. He wants to show out. He's got the power unit to do it. I think he'll pull it off.
What do you think for P1, Cam?
Max Verstappen is going to take this win. He's going to look big doing it. He's going to look fast doing it. And we're going to have newfound joy and belief in the Red Bull car. Let's go. What's your volcano hot take?
My hot take is Carlos Sainz is our sleeper driver this week. I think that he's going to have a breakout week. I know that with the upgrades coming in with Williams, having a little bit less weight, I think you see him. If you want me to make it even hotter, I think maybe you see Carlos Sainz in the top 5. But
Were you chuckling at him, or was
Top 5? Carlos Sainz?
I think you see Carlos. Look, I think he could ruin somebody's party this weekend. And I know that it's not a significant reduction in weight, but look, he hasn't been, he is a good driver. He's a great driver. He hasn't been given the car that he deserves. I think with the upgrade package that Williams is giving him this weekend, I think if there's a weekend for him to like really ruin somebody's day, it's going to be here. And so, again, that's my hot take. You have, your Ferrari wing potentially. Look, if it doesn't create the downforce, they have tire degradation. It's going to ruin them. I think that gives Sainz a leg up. I think if the weather comes in and changes strategy, it gives Sainz a leg up. I think there are so many different facets to this race where, again, if Sainz is going to have a breakout weekend, it's going to be here.
What about you, Cam? Or did you?
So mine's a two-parter. I want to make this. I scored big last week. I want to make it a little bit harder on myself.
This guy, man, I'm telling you.
So my first part is that no British driver gets on the podium. And I'm picking against myself with George. And then my second part is that one of the British drivers, unfortunately, DNFs at his home race. And if I see Lando crying, I might get excited.
That'd be a great Grand Prix. Oh man!
Can you imagine? Poor guy.
Yeah, I mean, look, I don't. It's not impossible because I think if you see George with the power unit, if George DNFs, I think you've got a pretty good shot at getting some points on that one. So
my hot take for the weekend is I think that I've been saying this all year. We haven't been doing the podcast all year, but I'm gonna stick with it until it happens. Hulkenberg's going to get a point this week. Audi scores their points, or have they scored points this year with Bortoleto? He finished on the podium here last year. I think he's excited to come back, and I think we see a top 10 finish out of an Audi. By the time we do our recap of this video, I think we're going to have so much to talk about. I think Silverstone is a fun track, and I think we're all going to enjoy it. And hopefully you'll be here too, because it was really fun today.
I should be here. Yeah, I had a great time.
We have a fourth microphone. We can do a four-seater.
We're growing on and off the internet. I love this.
Yes.
But you guys don't forget, like and subscribe. Check us out, and hopefully we'll see you next weekend, next Sunday after the race. That's when we're going to do our next review. So until then, we'll keep on yapping.
And thanks to Justin for joining us today.
Thank you guys for having me.